Hello everyone, and welcome back to JAS Reviews. My name is James, and welcome back to my channel. I review both music and movies here, along with the occasional commentary piece. If any of that sounds interesting to you, then I'd appreciate it if you liked the video and subscribe to my channel. So today, I am going to be doing a music review, this time of the band Word Alive for their new album, Monomania. Now, my history with Word Alive has been pretty interesting. They're actually one of a very few amount of bands where I would consider their first album to be their best. I think Deceiver is a great album. It really showed a band brimming with potential and bringing electronics and metalcore together in a way that had not really been seen before. And Tell Smith proved on the first album that he was a very capable vocalist in both the screaming department and in the singing department. Now, I haven't always been the hugest fan of them following that album. In fact, it's sort of been an on-again, off-again relationship with them, to be honest. Their second album, Life Cycles, I do not care for at all, really. But their third album, Real, I guess I sort of grew on it a little bit. I still consider it a very middling album at best. I really think the band found their stride with Dark Matter, their fourth album. Now, Dark Matter isn't perfect by any means, but I do think it really honed in an interesting sound for them. And then on their fifth album, Violent Noise, which came out 2 years ago, they went very experimental, trying a whole lot of different sounds. They even brought in like a rap guest vocalist, and they tried out some more heavy electronic experimentation. And it was to mostly good effect. I think my opinions on the album have gone down a little bit. I was really hoping for an album that would see the Word Alive coming back to more of their engaging material that was on Dark Matter and Deceiver. And with that, we had Monomania. The first single, Burning Your World Down, was very exciting. It sounded like the band was really back in their stride again, doing what they knew how to do best. And then we heard the second single, which was the title track. And needless to say, my anticipation for this album got really high. I was really hopeful for it. And I think besides a couple albums, Word Alive have been fairly consistent in having interesting output and varying their sound with every album to mostly good success. So how does Monomania fare as an album? I think Deceiver is no longer the Word Alive's best album. I actually think Monomania might take the spot for me now. And that's crazy to say, because I've held for years that the Word Alive has not really gotten better than their debut, even with Dark Matter. But Monomania sees them at, in my opinion, their absolute best so far. What really helps this album is its consistent themes, its sound that is very cohesive and very interesting to listen to, and just the powerful performances from each and every band member in the album. So we get off to a very positive start with the first song and the title track. And I think it's the strongest start we could have possibly gotten because Monomania is actually my favorite song off the album. This song does such a good job at setting the stage for what you're going to get for the rest of the album. Really solid guitar work, beautiful incorporation of electronics that really mend seamlessly with the guitar work, and just absolutely stellar vocal performances from Tell. I think Tell Smith sounds better than ever on this album, to be honest, and his vocal and performance has always been improving from album to album. It's just impressive that he is even better on here. I'm not really sure how he could get much better than on this album, and I think his vocal performance on Monomania in specific is just great. And man, that chorus is just so gripping and so catchy, while at the same time having a lot of emotion behind it. I think what Tell is saying here is really powerful in talking about how so many people think the only way to cope with life is to take themselves out of it. And what really is cool about this song is that there's this really interesting breakdown in the middle of it. And I've never heard the band do a breakdown quite like this, where it sounds like they use a piano in combination with this blistering guitar tone. it seems like it shouldn't really work having this lighter piano flair against a hard-hitting guitar riff, but it really creates something that is intriguing and all its own. I think this song is probably going to end up being one of my favorite Word Alive songs to date. Thankfully, the album doesn't really tank after this. I don't think there's any song better than Monomania, but there are still some great tracks on here, and some that come at least close. Now, the second song is also one of the singles, No Way Out. Honestly, I think No Way Out might be one of the Word Alive's catchiest songs to date. I talked about the chorus to Monomania hooking you, but the chorus to No Way Out, I really think draws you in a totally different way. I think this song could have easy success on the rock radio if there was any justice in the world. The chorus is just wonderful, and the guitar work is really just accentuating Tell's voice really well. I will say that this song reminded me a bit of Too Close to Touch, especially in the era of their second album. And I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Now, we got a couple other good tracks. I think the first four tracks on this album really get this release off on a winning streak. We have Searching for Glory at the third track, and I think this song is a bit darker, a bit more cynical, but at the same time, it's not like necessarily delving entirely into nihilism, and I think this song is important for the themes that the album is going for. I mean, Monomania, at its core, is an album about obsessing needlessly over one thing and letting go of those obsessions and just living life to the fullest. I especially love how anthemic the song gets. It almost feels like an arena rock song in some ways, and I like that because the Word Alive, once again, has not really done a song like that. And then we have Another Year in the Shadows, which really has the Word Alive leaning into the more electronic side of their sound. Now, I've always wanted the Word Alive to show how to do electronics right. I feel like on Violent Noise, when they did emphasize on the electronics, it could sometimes leave a bit of a mixed taste for me. But on this song, they do it in just the right way. And I think it's because they do it well to where they're building up the chorus, and then there's this explosion like you would hear in an EDM song. But instead of it just being like an electronic breakdown like you'd expect, the song sort of opens up to a really beautiful and almost ethereal chorus. And Tell Smith has commented how this song was inspired by The Sixth Sense, which I thought was interesting, and you can definitely see hints of that in the lyrics. Just sort of brings an interesting context to the song. If you look at it through that lens, you might get even something a little more out of the song. The next couple songs are not quite as strong as the first four, but there are still some strong points to talk about. Thank You, for an example, is a really fun satirical jab at people who thought that the band would never make it, who said that they would amount to nothing, and basically Tell Smith is sarcastically saying, "Thank you for doubting me, and you gave me greater confidence to prove you wrong," and I have. I just appreciate how the song really goes for that snide feeling, and I think tonally and Tell's vocals, he's really letting that sarcasm show. And I appreciate that the song is more intense too, with a lot more screams from Tell. He doesn't scream as much as he used to, so it's always a treat to hear a song that more emphasizes on his really powerful and pretty high-pitched screams. He has gotten better at his screams, it's just that he's also gotten better at his singing, so I can't blame him for wanting to show off his singing chops, and honestly, I sort of prefer that. And then we have the track KF. So this song is a bit of a sadder one on the album. It's not one of my favorites, but I love the sentiment behind it. I think it's really beautiful and really powerful. So KF stands for Kyle Forever. This song is dedicated to Kyle Pavone, the clean vocalist of We Came as Romans, who tragically passed away just last year. And the guy was obviously a real inspiration in the metalcore scene. I think he had a lot of hopeful lyrics and hopeful things to say, and it was hard to see someone like him go so young. And Tell Smith and the Word Alive have been touring with We Came as Romans for quite some time now, so it doesn't surprise me that he'd do a dedication to him, similar to how he did with Chester Bennington on War Evermore. The second half of the album starts off strong with the lead single Burning Your World Down, which is just classic Word Alive in every sense of the word. I think it really combines all the sounds of their previous album in a way that really works. Then we've got what is probably my second favorite on the album, and I didn't really expect it to be on my first listen, but Comfort in Chaos really snuck up on me. This song is more quiet and more subtle in what it does. I really think what this song is talking about is so intriguing about, like, trying to find safety and being by yourself when that's not really what you need to do. What you need to do is find connection, and clearly this album is a lot about breaking free of obsessions or of self-isolation and reaching out to those around you and finding community and finding love with others. And I think this song really draws on those insecurities in a very poignant way, especially with lyrics like, "The river's flowing over me, I feel the current underneath, so why do I feel safe when there's no escaping?" I appreciate how the chorus becomes more and more dark and more heartbreaking as it goes on, until in the final repetition of the chorus, there's only an acoustic guitar and Tell's very vulnerable voice. And then we end on quite the song title, "Death is only the end if you assume the story is about you." What a cool song title. I really like what that title is implying, that our death is important, sure, but it's not going to define the world. And I appreciate how that is just a very factual statement, but also one that isn't nihilistic. It's really saying that collectively as a society, we will continue to be even after we are gone. And I just really appreciate that sentiment. I don't know, it's just something that's sort of simple and complex at the same time, and not really something that The Word Alive has ever touched on before. I really appreciate that they went there with that concept. And this song is pretty much the complete inverse of Monomania, where the first track is all about inward obsession, all about, like, me. This final track is all about everyone as a collective whole, and I appreciate that the band made that progression in such a natural and really effective and even poignant way. And musically, man, this song really shows the band going through a lot of different styles. It's really surprising the musical shifts this song goes through, and I don't really want to spoil it for you. Check this one out for yourself. So there are a couple of negatives to talk about with this album. Now, they're not like glaringly bad or anything, but they are there. One of the first is the song Greatest Almost. I just feel like after the first 4 great songs on the album, this 5th one really is sort of forgettable, and the hook of, like, using Greatest Almost, the way it's worded musically is a little awkward, but I do think the slightly more weak song is I'm Sorry You're Sorry Now. The chorus is sadly pretty repetitive, and the use of electronic vocal manipulation is a little bit irritating to me. The song is also a pretty cliched breakup track. I'm not really sure that this song works because it is a breakup song, and a lot of the songs here are not necessarily focused on, like, a relationship breakup necessarily, so the song feels a little bit awkward in that context. Those negative tracks really don't hinder the album that much. As a whole, Monomania is a great album, even excellent at times. Some of the songs here are among The Word Alive's best. I think that both the title track and Comfort in Chaos could end up in my top Word Alive songs of all time. They're that good. So I'm glad I finally got to give a positive review after having several negative reviews in a row. So I'm going to rate this album a strong 4 out of 5 stars, with definitely a high recommendation. Even if you haven't heard The Word Alive before, I would invite you to give this album a shot. You might be pleasantly surprised with what you find. So if you have heard this album, what are your opinions on it? Do you agree or disagree with me? Remember, this review is just my opinion, and if you think differently than me, that is totally fine. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let me know in the comments below if you're interested. And also, if you enjoy what I do here, then feel free to leave a like on the video and to subscribe to my channel. And with that, I will see you all in the next video.